What can you say about the Kansas City Chiefs?
I think the Dolphins were getting ready to pop their champagne today, and then the kick gets blocked, right? It's unbelievable to me the way they find ways to win. And it's different ways, right? Some weeks it's the offense. Most of the weeks it's been the defense. Today it's the special teams, finding a way to get a block at the end. We're going to see it right here. I mean, this is just old school. We crashing down that left side of the offensive line for the Denver Broncos, coming in and getting the block right here. But you had three different guys, right? We didn't know who it was. Commentators didn't know who it was. I think we finally found who it was, but I'm not really even certain who got it at that point.
Right.
It's just impressive. But great teams never blink. They find a way. Whatever they have to do to find a way to get a win, I mean, it's pretty unbelievable.
It's what they do best. That's what makes them the Super Bowl champions multiple years in a row, is they just find a way. But more importantly, they believe that they're going to find a way. A lot of times out there, end of the game, you're trying for it, but like, I don't know if we're going to actually block this. These guys, they're like, no, we're going to go out there and block this. And we talked about it earlier, but 3 seconds changes an entire week. Bo Nix is sitting on that sideline thinking, we did it. We came into Arrowhead.
It's going to be a great flight back home.
Unbelievable. My family would just beat the Chiefs. On the other side, they're like, damn, 8-1. We had our first loss. And then 3 seconds later.
Now, you mentioned Bo Nix, and I like to hear Nate and Coach talk about this. Denver, Sean Payton, you know what? Here's a brilliant comment. He can coach. He knew what he had and what he was going to be working with.
Yeah, listen, I know I kicked them out of the playoffs. I'm not that person. I was asked to do that, but I was, listen, they had 5 wins. They had not beaten anybody. And so, you look at it, and I said Joe Burrow, but I give a lot of credit to Sean Payton. He's changing the culture out there.
Yeah.
They really are. And he believes in Bo Nix. And I tell you, Bo Nix, his numbers have never been great, but he makes good decisions. He was not turning the football over.
Yeah.
And their defense has come out every time. I mean, they're throwing blitzes at him on 3rd and 13. And
he's pushing the ball downfield a lot more than he did earlier in the season.
And, I'm just saying 22 of 30, 215 yards. He's not turning the football over. Sacked only 2 times. He's been impressive. And Sean's done a great job with that whole demeanor out there. That's a tough loss for them. But I agree. I think Kansas City, they are living on the edge. They may be 9-0. But you go in that locker room on Monday, and I know Andy's like, man, you guys, we may be 9-0, but we probably, in theory, should be about 6-3 right now. And but we're not. And so there's no comfort level that's happening there. So sometimes you get comfortable, you become complacent.
Not with
complacent, stunts growth. Nobody's comfortable in that building right now because they're winning games, different ways of doing it, but they are absolutely on the edge in doing so.
So now the question is, can they go undefeated? They're going to have a huge test next week.
Yeah, we'll be there.
We'll be there, right?
Big one.
It's going to be Chiefs-Bills. It's going to be their toughest test this season. And then weeks 15 and 16, they have the Texans and the Steelers. Of course, they have, opponents that are going to give their best up against the Chiefs every single week. But those are the 3 games that stand out to me right now that might get in the way of.
So who wants to answer the question? Will they go or can they go undefeated?
Why are you pointing at me, JB? Hey, why do I got to go first? I say no. And I don't, I think there's a chance that they do. But my gut says I do not think they will. They've already got at the end of the day, at minimum, a 3-game lead within the division. I think there's a real chance, given the age of some of their players, at Travis Kelce, trading for DeAndre Hopkins, running back issues. If Pacheco comes back, you want him healthy for the playoffs. I think there's a real chance that they're sitting players the last two weeks of the season, right? That you might have a loss that goes on the record. Because for the Kansas City Chiefs, it's about getting another title, right? And Andy Reid has the guts to do what he thinks is best for them to win a title. So I think there's a chance they might lose one along the way. I think there's a real chance that they might rest players at the end of the year. I don't think they go undefeated.
You took my point.
Which is?
Right out of the game. I was going to say, they might be undefeated all the way up till the end and then rest somebody because they got it locked up and there's no reason, so they might drop one at the end. But, when they find ways to win games like this and they just continue to believe, and we know that over the years they continue to get better as the season goes on, it's tough to be able to sit here and say, I see a loss somewhere on there. Could you? Of course. But, right now they're playing great ball.
I say yes, they can go undefeated for a couple of reasons. One,
can or will?
They will. They will go undefeated for 2 reasons. One, because there isn't a team in the NFL that knows how to play in the months of November, December like the Chiefs have over the last handful of years. And two, most importantly, the reason I believe they will go undefeated, because I want to be on tape saying it in case they do.
I don't think they will, and I don't think it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
I think it's really hard. We were 15-1 one year. As we entered the playoffs, our last loss was in week 3. And as much as I could sit there and try to say, okay, we're 0-0 starting the playoffs, we have no margin of error, don't worry, Coach, we got this. And we won the first game barely, and we lost the second game, the championship game. So and we didn't play with the same edginess that we got to get to that point. So
Gotcha.
I'm not so sure that a loss wouldn't be a bad thing for this football team, just to kind of get back to the reality that, you know what, we're winning these games, but, you know, we are on the edge, and we're going to be placing some pretty good teams to get to the playoffs, and there's no margin of error there. So I don't think they will, and I don't think it'll be the worst.
Coach, you like your team's pissed off, huh?
I kind of do. Yeah. Don't take yourself too seriously.
Folks, we will be in Buffalo next week when they host the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm looking forward to it because I can ask Nate then about DeAndre Hopkins. He says he still has some juice in his game. They've got juice in their game. We'll see you next week.